Yo, it's your boy K-Side Cash, and today we are going to be breaking down UFC 330, Islam Makhachev versus Machado Garry. Guys, this card is heat. I know we've been seeing the things online, but dude, what is the UFC cooking up, bro? Dude, are you serious, bro? Jillian Robertson in the main event, dude? Like, really, as a kill-main? I get it. We've been seeing this stuff online. Listen, don't believe all that stuff. This card is an absolute banger, guys. We got some good name value, some good implications regarding rankings and moving up forward in the division. We got some pretty good prospects on this card. Let's get right into it. Y'all already know how we do it. We're going to start away from the bottom of the card, making our way to the top. Guys, 2-3 years Dagestan to forget. Let's get right into it, y'all. Alright, y'all. The first fight kicking off the early prelims on this card is going to be taking place in the welterweight division. And guys, the king is here. We have Jeremiah Wells versus our almighty savior, Mitabek Orobai. Guys, as you can see in the tail of the tape of this card, there's not too much differences as far as like physicality between these fighters. Jeremiah Wells obviously being the older fighter. He actually has like slightly less experience. Jeremiah Wells, he's kind of like one of these win-loss fighters. Hasn't really had any peaks in his career. If you don't know who Jeremiah Wells is, guys, he's the fighter who had a generational aura loss. He tried to sprint circle around the cage. This dude trips on himself, face smacks the freaking fence, and he gets swarmed by punches. I didn't even watch the finish. I didn't even watch the rest of the sequence. He probably could have won that fight just off that aura loss alone. I'm like, bro, you're like 39. Chill. So, guys, what I think of this matchup, I think this is going to be a pretty good, like, interesting fight. And I don't really see this one going the distance. As we know, Mitabek is kind of just like this gritty, overall, like, all-around type of fighter who can swarm his opponent, who could get close on the clinches. Like, I feel like Mitabek Orobai does his best work in a very close proximity. I mean, he's able to generate power in close distances. It's crazy. If we remember what he did to Jack Hermanson, mind you, this was his welterweight debut. Jack Hermanson is physically, like, looks way bigger than him. Mitabek Orobai literally hit the off switch. Looping his shot, clean tempo crumbled. Guys, I think Jeremiah Wells, he's a pretty good fighter overall. Like, he's a pretty all-around fighter as well. I don't think he's going to be better per se in this matchup. I think he may be potentially like a bit more explosive, just like all physicality. Like, you can see these fighters, you can see he's probably going to present more explosiveness in this fight, you know. But him being the older fighter in this matchup, like, I do think that's going to take away from this matchup. Like, you're 11 years older than your opponent, which, of course, you know, this has been the year of the unks. This has been the year of the surprises, where we've seen a lot of things happen this year. We've seen Bobby Green literally go on a 4-fight win streak, you know. So I think this is just going to be a really fun matchup. Start off this card, you got Mitabek Orobai. I mean, that's a name. I mean, Jeremiah Wells, obviously, he's not like the freaking peak of the division, but that's still a name. We're starting off this card with like 2 names, you know what I'm saying? And this, I feel like this has a lot of implications for Mitabek Orobai. I think if he can get a good finish, like, we can see him start taking on like some top 15 or some, maybe not top 10ers, but like definitely like some top 15ers of the welterweight division. I mean, off the top of my head, like, I can't really think who would fare well against Mitabek Orobai. Maybe somebody like yo, if you want to fast shoot Mitabek Orobai, assuming he gets this win in this fight, you can literally give him Bilal Muhammad. Let's be serious, guys. Bilal Muhammad is off 3 losses. You know, let's not talk too further, though. Let's not look too past what we have right now. Jeremiah Wells, I'm pretty sure we're going to see some good grappling from him. I mean, I think he probably would maybe potentially throw a takedown. He doesn't have like the worst takedown percentage, so I could potentially see him go for like a good double leg, good single leg. But I just see Mitabek just piecing him up. This dude is like a marauder. And of course, we've seen Mitabek Orobai get stopped and like lose fights. And but regardless, I think Mitabek Orobai is just a really good all-around fighter. I think he's just gonna come show some really good exchanges in the clinch. You guys know how I always talk about them underhooks and them overhooks. I think we're going to see Mitsubek Orabai get close, maybe throw some underhooks, bring Jeremiah Wells on the cage, separate a little bit, and then that's where we're gonna see a lot of this. You know, we're gonna have. I'm pretty sure we're gonna see Jeremiah Wells on the cage, being like, you know, held on the cage where he's in these uncomfortable positions where you can't back up. You're kind of held, where you kind of got to plant, stand base. We seen Mitsubek Orabai spark Jack Hermanson, stand in his base, having him on the fence, and just wham. Guys, I'm pretty sure this is going to be like one-sided, and I don't usually like to say that just because I like to give fighters the benefit of the doubt, but I just believe Jeremiah probably will be a little explosive early on. I think he might be able to, like, I think the way he's going to push forward as far as like closing the distance, I think he's going to be able to close the distance very well. I mean, Mitsubek Orabai, he's not this super shifty, like, you know, like he's not one of those types of guys where he's you know, he's not here. He's not like, you know, he's not like this. He's kind of more put up, you know. Okay, let's go. Okay, you know, throwing the power in his shots. Mitsubek Orabai is very planted. If you see how he generates his power, it's a lot of twists. It's a lot of build up. You know, it's you know, it's a lot of this. So I think Mitsubek Orabai's best work is gonna be, you know, holding Jeremiah Wells towards that cage. I literally see a sequence where we see Mitsubek Orabai get them underhooks. We see him walk him to the cage, hold him. Now he releases them underhooks. You know when a fighter releases those hooks and they have that like burst where you can just immediately just break, you know? So I could see Jeremiah Wells actually being sparked in this fight. So with that little hypothetical sequence I just gave y'all, which of course I think Jeremiah Wells may have some good like takedown defense. I can't sit here and say I don't think I'm gonna see Mitsubek Orabai go for like a straight center line blast single leg, blast double leg. You know what I'm saying? I think maybe Jeremiah Wells may be able to actually telegraph that, and I think we may see like a good counter strike. Like I feel like Mitsubek Orabai going in a straight line, like going down and potentially going for the hips, that could be a compromising situation for him. So I don't see Mitsubek Orabai going straight down for the legs. I think we're going to see more clinch work, a lot more controlling the body, a lot more pushing on the cage. I genuinely feel like we're going to see this fight finish on the cage. A good break, a good elbow. I literally can see it. Good break, finish, spark him. I see it. Guys, with that being said, I know I don't like to always base my fight breakdowns on hypotheticals, but like it just makes sense. Jeremiah Wells, he's not this overly crazy guy. I mean, he's pretty like middle of the line type of fighter. I could see cardio being an issue later in the fight. You know, you got these big bulky dudes who are explosive, like a Joaquin Buckley. They're going to gas out eventually, especially when you're relying on your explosivity or whatever the word is. When you're relying on that explosiveness, you're taking a lot from yourself. And then if you got somebody who is stopping you, meaning you're hitting that wall, it's like you just, whoop, oh, no, I just put all that energy to get stopped. With that being said, guys, my guarantee lock and pick for this fight is Mitsubek Orabai, guys. I'm gonna be honest with you. I really see this happening in the first round. Jeremiah, he's a little tough. I'm not gonna take away from him. He has a little bit of durability, but just how we seen Mitsubek Orabai genuinely hit the off switch on Jack Hermanson. He literally looked like a person just turned off. You know, so I see a really good finishing sequence on the cage. That breakaway, that elbow, I see it, guys. I see it. Mitsubek Orabai first round TKO, guys. Alright, guys, the second fight on this early prelim card is going to be in the welterweight division. As you can see, we have the craftiest of craftiest vet unks, Neil Magny versus Ramiz Brahimaj. And guys, there's obviously a little bit differences as far as like on the physicality standpoint. Neil Magny obviously is going to be coming in as the taller fighter. He's going to have more reach, but also he is also the older fighter, right? So there's things that like are clear advantages, but also like the age could be a disadvantage, right? The way I see this fight going is everybody knows that Neil Magny is this super chinny, like crazy BJJ guy who can just pull a win out his ass, right? Ramiz Brahimaj is a very like all-around gritty fighter. He's kind of like a dog-like type fighter, you know what I'm saying? A couple losses on his record. But the thing I would say is Neil Magny is like losing. Of course, he has a couple losses, like he's lost to like Santiago Ponzinibbio and stuff like that. Those types of losses, he has those types of losses, but then he's also has losses where he just lost to Michael Morales, he just lost to Carlos Prates, he just lost to Ian Machado Garry. You know what I'm saying? He's like losing to these relevant names. It's not like he's losing to absolute pure slot bums, right? So you have to kind of give him the benefit of the doubt, like he's losing to the best, right? For the most part. Ramiz Brahimaj is going to be undersized coming into this matchup. I think he may be like more filled out, like as far as like, you know, this standpoint, he may be a little more bulkier in that sense. But, you know, Neil Magny, he's this he's long, rangy, just grappling striker. You know, what I say with more grappling like a pro. Everybody knows Neil Magny at this point. Like, guys, well, let's not be confused as to who Neil Magny is. We know he's looking for a submission. That's his end goal. We know he's looking for that neck, no diddy. So I think Ramiz Brahimaj is gonna have to just be overpowering. This dude, Neil Magny, has no chin. His chin is literally on a freaking hanging on a thread. It's super low. His chin is super susceptible to a hit. You crack that shit, he's done. I think Ramiz Brahimaj is going to have to be explosive, and I could say he is very explosive. He's a moving forward type fighter. He mixes in the grappling. He changes levels. You know, he goes to the body. He throws kicks. He has really good kicks. He has good, like, high kicks where, you know, that damn 1-2 head kick, right? That Bobby Knuckles 1-2 head kick, you know, that this, right? He has one of those, like, in his kit. So I think head kick and just kicks in general is going to play like a bit of factor into this fight. Now, again, Neil Magny is the longer fighter, and he does like to fight behind his jab, especially when he's being swarmed. He likes to, you know what I'm saying, likes to pop that jab and whatnot. But I just feel like Ramiz Brahimaj is going to be just more imposing in this fight. I don't think he's going to settle for, you know, stalling positions, or I don't think he's going to fall into the guard of Neil Magny. And I could see Ramiz Brahimaj kind of just crashing in, because he is a moving forward type of fighter. You know, he's good. He's not like a dumb fighter per se, but I could see him crashing in. And we see, you know, these long, lanky guys, bro. You get that Gilly, bro. They got so much arm to hook onto. You know what I'm saying? Like a shorter dude, yeah, the grip is going to be like a lot more tight because you're closer. But then you got these longer guys who get your neck, and it's like you got a hand fight. It's just going to be very difficult, especially for, like, this is literally perfect standing. Like, this fight is perfect standing Gilly potential for Neil Magny. Like, I could absolutely just see that crafty Neil Magny pulls a sub out his ass. He's been getting his ass beat the whole fight, and he finds a freaking triangle. He finds a rear naked choke. He finds a Gilly. Neil Magny is one of those fighters that, like, a submission sometimes just falls into his hands somehow, some way, right? I see the fluke ability in this fight. I sense it. A part of me feels like Neil Magny could just pull one of those rabbits out his hat, and we're looking at another fucking couple months of, oh my God, Neil Magny still got it, man. Neil Magny still got it, man. Come on, Neil Magny, he never lost it, man. I don't want to see that, guys. Let's be serious. Neil Magny, he's obviously at the tail end of his career. Never had, like, any major pinnacles, but he was never, like, he never had any peaks, but he never had any valleys, you know? I mean, he probably had more lows than highs, right? But he's just one of these OG fighters, been in the game for so long, been in the UFC for a very long time, fought the who's who, fought the names, fought the young up-and-comers, fought the OGs. He's just one of those guys that we need. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, UFC needs these types of dudes. We need the Neil Magnys of the world. We need the Jeff Neals of the world. You know, these are very important to the UFC. You can't have a breakout all-star every fight. You know what I'm saying? But you got to give Neil Magny just a little respect based off fluke ability, right? I think Ramiz Brahimaj is probably going to be a little loose, so he probably won't be, like, completely shelled up. He kind of might be, you know, a little more wide. He might, even though him being the shorter fighter, he still might try to play the distance, get close. Wow. You know what I say about that double jab, loop over. Neil Magny is super susceptible to shots in succession. To take Neil Magny out, all you gotta do is swarm him. Seriously, I'm pretty sure I can probably beat Neil Magny. You know, so long as he doesn't get a submission, I'm sure we're on the same playing field. You know, but the threat of the submission is super big in this fight. Like, we can't ever just look past Neil Magny simply because, oh, he's Neil Magny, right? The threat of the submission is always there. And when you have these long, lanky guys where you kind of just put their skills past them, that's exactly how people get caught in these positions, because they're thinking, it's Neil Magny, I'll knock him out. What if you don't? Now you're actually looking at a semi-gritty fight with a person who can mix it up, who can play his range. Neil Magny is also a tall fighter, rangy fighter. He has good kicks, good leg kicks. He's a good, he's an okay striker, I'd say. At most, an okay striker. Fairly decent power. He excels in his BJJ and his grappling. Guys, Ramiz Brahimaj is going to have to make this dirty. He's going to have to make it close. He's going to have to make this very physical. I will worry about the clinches, because then we could just see Neil Magny find a good trip. Him having the longer legs, like, I absolutely could see an outside trip. You know, he just takes the outside trip, falls on top, and there you go. Now we got Neil Magny grounding, pounding Ramiz Brahimaj, right? This is a very telling fight, because I could see the 39-year-old uncle pull that win out his ass. But on the contrary, I could see a 39-year-old Neil Magny at the tail end of his career get absolutely swarmed in this fight. And I feel like that's more of a possibility than the fluke ability, guys. So with that being said, I know I didn't really give much technicality breakdown on this one. This was more like an opinion-based breakdown. But, guys, that being said, my guaranteed lock and pick for this fight is Ramiz Brahimaj, guys. I really believe he's just going to be able to find the chin of Neil Magny. You know, Neil Magny doesn't really, excel well against fighters who are swarming him and have power and have explosiveness, and just those types of fighters where you can just keep him coming until you find that chin. It's bound to happen, guys. Ramiz Brahimaj, I'm gonna say second round TKO. All right, guys, the next matchup on the prelims is gonna be taking place in the light heavyweight division. As y'all can see here, we have Rafael Tobias versus Lucas Fernando. And to be honest, guys, these fighters' records are pretty similar. The clear thing you can notice in this matchup immediately is that reach differential. A couple inches reach favoring Lucas. Him having the longer reach, I think that's absolutely immediately going to play a factor into this fight. Rafael Tobias is a forward-moving fighter. He's one of these crashing fighters. He's kind of one of these explosive fighters that just do big motions. He's a very, I would like to say, kind of like a sloppy striker. He's not really calculated. He's not going to rip these crazy 1-2s and level change and show these beautiful exchanges. He's just a nasty, gritty dog type fighter. His best work is in the ground and pound. You know, he's not one of those fighters that's going to shoot a traditional double leg or a simple single leg takedown. No, he's gonna go for a blasting tackle leg takedown, or get you on the fence and just slowly grit you down until he gets full mount and starts wailing on you, which is his best work, like I said. But the thing about this matchup is Lucas Fernando, he's much more rangy striker. He's a much more calculated fighter. I think he's really good at picking his shots. He has a nasty body liver shot. He has really good leg kicks. He has really good, just overall well-rounded striker, and he has some solid ground and pound too. Both of these fighters, I can't say they're super grapple-heavy fighters. I've seen minimal scrambles. You know, I think the best work of grappling both of these fighters will present is leading to go to ground and pound. You know, Rafael has some good rear naked choke wins. He has a couple rear naked choke wins, but the thing I like to make apparent for both of these fighters is they have been can crushing. You know what I say about these dudes from Brazil, bro? These dudes always be facing 0-2 fighters, 0-3 fighters, 0-5 fighters. Lucas has a couple matchups where he's faced like a 7-4 fighter. I think like a 16-8 fighter. I think he's fought like a 8-2 fighter. You know, so he's faced like slightly better competition. But Rafael Tobias also faced Dr. Negajai, which just recently competed. He just won. I did a breakdown not too long ago. It was either last week or 2 weeks ago. But Dr. Negajai probably will beat both of these guys, you know, like easily. So that's something to factor. But when you gauge somebody's skill and their potential off the level of competition, it's kind of hard to go based off that, because a lot of people can crush. So it's easy to say like you look good against a bunch of cans, but once you start facing like levels of competition that are higher and higher, like that's when you start to see like people go through more adversity, right? Both of Rafael's losses are due to submission, so that could be a very like telling factor of this matchup. I can't sit here and say Lucas Fernando may not potentially be looking for submissions. I think he's going to be looking to strike in this matchup. I think he has really good strikes in succession. He has really good kicks in this fight. Like, I know he's going to have a nasty, like, chopping lead leg kick, you know. Well, what I think about these crashing fighters who, like Rafael Tobias, he's one of these types of fighters, you know, one of these types of fighters, right? When you have a fighter like that, eventually it turns into, right? It turns into your arms, you're not throwing these straight jabs, you're not throwing these crazy shots back to back. Your arms start to drop, you know, you get a little tired. That's when these head kicks become a factor, right? Him having the range, Lucas Fernando having the range, I think that's going to be such an advantage in this fight. I mean, they're very similar at height, but the range, just him, he's going to be able to just pop this dude's head back with a jab easily. When you have a crashing in fighter, bow, you're crashing into a jab, you know. And I think when it comes into exchanges between both of these fighters, I think Lucas just is better as far as shots in succession, you know, strikes in succession, level changing, you know, just switching it up. You're not only just headhunting. I think Rafael Tobias is a headhunter, you know, so he's kind of like this just doggy, crazy, just like overpowering type of fighter, whereas Lucas is more like composed, you know. He's picking his timing a little better, you know. He's not exactly looking to swarm. He'll swarm you, but he's not looking to just out physicality you, you know. He's good in the clinch. He's good in getting in that full mount position, you know. Like he's good with like denials of trying to, like, you know, when somebody's in the bottom position, they try to break full mount and they try to break half guard and they try to find, you know, an opening, right? He's good at those denials. So I think he has a great opportunity of getting that ground and pound and securing that ground and pound. Now, I would say Rafael Tobias also has really good ground and pound. You know, he has these nasty, just you know, straight down the pipe type of shots, you know. And then once you shell up, that's when he just, you know, we see it all this time with these guys that you start covering up your face and ground and pound, and that's when you start getting your head bopped side to side. Then you start to do this, and that's when you start opening up for these nasty, just disgusting elbows. So I could see a possibility where Rafael ends up finding that good clinch, maybe that good trip, maybe that just good, just like hold somebody and just bring them down until they're down on the floor. I think I could potentially see that, but guys, I don't think it's gonna happen in this matchup. With that being said, guys, my lock and guarantee lock in this pick for this matchup in this fight is Fernando, guys. To be honest, I think he's going to find some succession using that body work in this fight. Like I told you, he has a nasty, just like a long ranging, kind of like a Yuri Prochazka. You know how Yuri's kind of like one of these type of fighters? He has one of those, like a nasty shot to the liver. I think he took 2 people out with that. So I'm pretty sure he's going to find that body shot early. He might find that body shot early. I think Rafael may crumble, and he might find some good ground and pound. It's going to be a TKO, guys. I don't think this is going to go to the judges. With that being said, guys, Lucas Fernando, first round TKO. All right, guys. The next fight on this card is going to be taking place in the middleweight division. As y'all can see here, we have Vicente Luque versus Tresean Gore. And the first thing I want to say about this matchup is, who in the fucking world believes Tresean Gore, genuinely Tresean fucking Gore, is a favorite over Vicente Luque? Guys, I don't know what world we're living in where Tresean Gore is a favorite over Vicente Luque. Listen, I know Vicente Luque is arguably later in his career, maybe over the slump, right? He's maybe over the hill, guys. Sure. He still got it, though. Hey, Unc still got it, though. You seen what he did to KG? Shit. Kelvin Gastelum is not the best credible win nowadays, but still, that's still Kelvin Gastelum. He's still Vicente Luque got it done. I understand Tresean Gore is coming off a win, whatnot. That's cool, but listen, I'm not impressed by that. I'm not, like, yeah, it's actually was an impressive sub. Like, it was actually a pretty impressive win. Like, I was watching that fight. I think it was versus Azamat. No, I forgot. It was one of those. It was one of those dudes, bro. But basically, I was watching that fight, and I'm like, yeah, Tresean Gore is about to get his shit, like, violated. He's about to get demolished. Bro, this dude won. So I was shocked, too. I ain't gonna lie. I was like, oh, shit, hold up. Tresean Gore now is saying, I'm taking my career serious, man. I'm not drinking alcohol no more, man. Dude, like, who cares? You're 7-4. Argue, yeah, Vicente Luque is 24-2, but like, still, just level of competition, where they're at in their careers, they're like on two different path trajectories. And like Vicente Luque, bro, listen, if this was a matchup 5 years ago, people would have been saying, dude, the UFC is sending Tresean Gore out there to get murdered. You know, maybe nowadays, like, I could see how like the you know, like, it's kind of the odds are, you know, maybe changing, because like Vicente Luque, like I said, arguably is over the hill. I don't see too much like implications for him as far as like he's not going to be fighting for the belt. Maybe could potentially be seeing the top 15 spot, you know, like maybe the 12 to 15 range spot. You know, he could be a gatekeeper for like the next couple years of his career, assuming he's gonna moving longer forward with his career, right? He's one of those guys. But the thing I like to say about this matchup is like, bro, there's no way Tresean Gore is gonna win this fight. Like, there's just no way. Like, unless he can just out physicality Luque, which I just don't think he will. Unless he can snipe Luque, which I just don't think he will. Guys, I think Vicente Luque shows levels in this matchup. I think Tresean Gore's gonna lose this fight, right? And then we're gonna go right back to, oh yeah, guys, look, like, why did we think Tresean Gore was actually something? Like, why? Guys, people should be smashing a fucking house on Vicente Luque. Unless there's this, like, untalked about injury that we don't know about, that potentially other people know about, is why they're leaning towards Tresean Gore for him to be the favorite. I just can't see any possibility where I'm like, put both of these guys in a ring, in a cage together, Vicente Luque doesn't walk out the winner. Like, there's just no way. He just has a way better grappling prowess. Tresean Gore literally gasses out immediately, you know, and maybe that's a testament to the smoking, to the alcohol, to not taking his career serious beforehand. But like, bro, you're 7-4, and he just was 6-4 not even too long ago. So you're basically like kissing wins and losses together. And now I'm supposed to think you're taking your career serious. How did this dude even get in the UFC? I think he got into the UFC because he knocked out Gilbert Urbina. Are we serious? Anyways, guys, man, let's not even waste too much time on this matchup. This is going to be super one-sided. I could sit here and break it down to you and dumb it down to you and sit here and say, man, the way Tresean Gore is able to close distance is very, very good. The way he's able to establish his footwork. I'm not going to sit here and bore you with this matchup. This is fucking easy money, guys. You better smash the house on Vicente Luque, guys. My guaranteed lock and pick for this fight. I don't even care if I spoiled it. Vicente Luque, bro. This is such a Darce. This is fucking Darce material. This is Darce City. This is the Darce Night. This is Darsality. You know what I'm saying? This is so easy, bro. I swear to God, if Vicente Luque loses this has to be his retirement fight, because there's no fucking way you're gonna get Tresean Goring. You're not gonna let this dude win. So, guys, smash the house on Vicente Luque. This is like this is like my freaking free money of the week, guys. I don't want y'all to take my word for it, because if I lose money, y'all gonna be mad at me. But guys, this is Dart's ability all day, 24/7. Vicente Luque got it, guys. All right, guys. The next matchup on the prelims is going to be taking place in the middleweight division. All right, guys. As you can see here, we have Dante Johnson versus Eric McConaughey. And off rip, I like to say, bro, does anybody think that Eric McConaughey looks like Khalil Ranchi Jr.? Like, he's the withered Khalil Ranchi Jr. I swear he looks just like him. But now, with that being said, the telltale this matchup is there's a slight height discrepancy, you know, favoring Eric McConaughey. I feel like Eric McConaughey is one of those fighters that, like, looks good until he doesn't. You know, has a lot of success until he doesn't. Has success until he doesn't, right? All his losses, all 4 of his losses have come to knockout, you know. And on the contrary, you have Dante Johnson, who's all his fights have been a finish except for his last win, which was honestly was not the best win in the world. A split decision to Cody Brundage is crazy. But anyways, regardless, you have a finisher, primarily a finisher in Dante Johnson, who is a powerhouse striker, who actually could mix up the wrestling and the submissions, who puts a crazy pace on you immediately. Eric McConaughey is one of these fighters who, like, gradually, you know, he builds into the fight. He's okay with point fighting. He's okay with stalling. He's okay with holding the clinch. He's okay with struggling with, you know, like, making you struggle with the scrambles, and he's just recovering and holding his breath. But he's winning, though. But he's, you know, he's stalling, and he's one of those types of fighters where, you know, he will take advantage of just holding time, you know, and not really throwing out a lot of output. You know, he's pretty, like, crafty, you know, quote unquote crafty. Like, I'll say crafty with the asterisks. You know, Eric McConaughey could pull some tricks out the bag sometimes. He's not the worst fighter, but one thing I could say is in his recent fights, I'm pretty sure he's win-loss. You know, he's a win-loss recently in his recent years, and both of his losses in recent time have been to knockout, brutally nasty knockouts. So I just think that's going to factor into this. I think he's semi-gun shy. I think a person who knows, okay, the only way I'm losing a fight is to a knockout, I think he subconsciously knows, okay, I'm going to maybe try to value the positions that I have, because I'd have more of an opportunity of winning instead of playing it like dangerous and going into the firefight and you get sparked. You know, I think somebody who knows that they only lose to knockouts or have only lost to knockouts, they might be wary of, you know, what's to come in a knockout. And you have, like I said, somebody, Dante, who's primarily just a finisher and can mix up the grappling. He's not just a finisher by way of knockout. He has submissions. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure he has one doctor stoppage where the corner had to stop. I'm not sure. I could be tripping, but regardless, he still is one of those fighters that will present to you different problems, and he's so explosive. He's young. Like, 27 is young, right? Especially in MMA terms. Like, you're not a man until you're 30, right? So it's like one of those types of sports where, like, MMA is one of those sports where they're late. Like, I guess maybe not the older you are, but like the middling to older you are in your career, that's when people start to, like, excel, and that's when, like, people usually become champions kind of later in their career, right? So you have somebody 27 who's still pretty green. I mean, he has under 10 fights. He has under 9 fights. This will be his 9th fight, right? He doesn't even have 10 fights, guys. And his level of competition, obviously he hasn't faced the who's who of the division. He hasn't faced any champions. He hasn't faced, honestly, anybody ranked, right? He's just faced he faced Rodriguez Dumas and fucking Cody Brundage, right? So that's kind of like the scale of his competition. Eric McConaughey, I believe he faced Azamat Murzakanov, one of those dudes, and he also faced Bizengar Susakarov, which is a really, really good prospect, you know, in the middleweight division, which is a name that we should look forward to. But that being said, like, I think this is just gonna be stalling versus, like, immediate pressure. You know, somebody who's holding position versus somebody who's always seeking to finish, who's looking to move forward, who's looking to apply damage. Eric McConaughey, like I said, he's okay with stalling a little bit. And I think in a fight where you have an explosive fighter just constantly pressuring you, stalling is the last thing you want. Because now you're going to have somebody who's an explosive, strong, like, just like if you clearly see Dante's body type. Like, this dude is this super strong, bulky, chiseled fighter. If they just start wailing on you, you're not gonna you can't just take that, you know? So it's one of those things where, like, I understand valuing position over submission, but it's another thing of being stagnant, not looking really forward to progress, not really looking for throwing the strikes. And it's also another thing if you're just throwing a Peter Patter just so the ref lets you keep position, right? I think Dante is gonna immediately swarm him. I think he's gonna overwhelm him. Now, do I think the grappling prowess is gonna play in Eric's advantage? Yeah, potentially. He's actually has good jiu-jitsu, but Dante is a really good wrestler. So, you know, it's one of those like jiu-jitsu versus wrestling kind of matchups, but I don't think that's going to be the differentiating factor. I think it's going to be the striking, where you have Dante, this super explosive striker who's looking to finish you, compared to this like slow, stagnant fighter who's looking to value his position, you know, and is okay with maybe letting the fight go to the judges. You know what I'm saying, guys? So, all of that being said and all things factored, my guarantee lock and pick for this fight is Dante Johnson, guys. I think he's going to be able to find that first round knockout easily. I think he's just going to put a pace on him, swarm him, get him on that fence, knock him out. All right, y'all. The next fight that's going to be taking place on the prelims will be in the flyweight division. And this one's going to be a banger, y'all. As you guys can see, we have Charles Energy Johnson versus Eduardo Chapelin. Now, this was the last-minute switch-up. Charles Johnson was supposed to originally face Jose Ochoa, which, come on, everybody wanted to see that. Us Ochoa believers wanted to see that, right? Cool. We got a last-minute switch. Eduardo Chapelin is making his debut. And, guys, one thing I can say about Eduardo Chapelin is this dude is actually, like, a really fucking good telegraph striker. This dude has really solid boxing. Like, he's a very fundamental boxer, meaning he's gonna pick you apart. He's gonna throw some shots at the body. He knows when to throw at the head. Like, he's not a head hunting type of fighter. He's very, like, punishing, you know, in his boxing exchanges. This dude rocked somebody clean. He let them collect themselves, recollect, you know, get back in the fight. First engagement, starts dude cold. This dude got some serious power in his hands, you know? Another thing is he's pretty fast, he's pretty explosive, he's pretty twitchy, you know? He stands in his base, but he's still, like, you know, he's still kind of presenting that threat to you, you know? And this is going to be a catchweight fight, so it's not bantamweight, it's not flyweight. It's going to be at 130, which is what I heard Charles Johnson say on his Instagram. Like, when he accepted the fight, he said 130, let's make it happen. Cool. It could be at flyweight, it could be at bantamweight. Regardless, this is going to be a bantamweight to flyweight type matchup. Guys, this is going to be a striker's delight. And you know what? I think these are the exact type of matchups that Charles Johnson needs. We don't need to see... Charles Johnson is like a BMF type fighter. Of course, it's not the division for the BMF, but he's one of those types of fighters where we don't want to see this explosive striker against grapplers that are just going to wrestle fuck him. And Charles Johnson has, like, fairly good wrestling defense. He has fairly good, you know, takedowns himself. You know, he's actually like a fair wrestler. You know, Eduardo's like a fair grappler himself. I think these are the matchups that we need. This is like going to be the epitome of flyweight scraps, you know? Smaller dudes, just crazy exchanges. Charles Johnson has some serious power in his hands. If I'm not mistaken, this dude cuts from 155, 160 to 125. You know what I'm saying? So that's like a 40, 35 pound cut. You know, he is retaining some of that muscle, some of that power. Obviously, he's knocked out Lonnie Kavanaugh. He's knocked out Joshua Van, the only people to have done that. So clearly, there's an area in which Charles Johnson could excel, you know, that being the power. I think this is going to be a lot of back and forth in the striking. And guys, I'm not going to lie to you. I think Eduardo might be the better striker out the two, in the sense that he's just a lot more telegraphed. He's a lot more put together. He's a lot more, like, willing to go to the body, willing to go to the head. He has really good, like, chopping leg kicks. One thing I did kind of notice about Eduardo is he kind of he's a little lacking in his defensive wrestling. Like, as far as, you know, being controlled, getting taken down. we've seen it a couple times. Well, I've seen it a couple times in a tape study. And yeah, that's something that obviously, this being a short notice fight, let's hope that's something he's worked on. Now, to be fair, I don't expect Charles to go out there and just become this dominant grappler all of a sudden. I don't think that's going to be the path to victory, right? I think the path to victory is going to be landing the better shots, throwing more power, more mustard in that sandwich, putting a little more mustard in that sandwich every time you throw, you know what I'm saying? And I think Charles Johnson is going to be the more powerful fighter in this matchup. I think this is going to be like sparks flying. You know, this, it was one of my other breakdowns. I'm pretty sure I said Axel Sola and Ismail Bonfim. I'm pretty sure I said that them two was going to be like a striker's delight, a aesthetically pleasing delight, and it didn't go that way. But that's kind of how I see this fight. I think they're going to do a lot of back and forth. I think it's going to be a lot of like good figuring each other out, good timing, good rhythm. Guys, this is going to be a really fun matchup. You know, I'm pretty sure this is the only flyweight matchup too. So this is like the you know, the shorter guys, the smaller guys always show out. I feel like since they know that, I feel like people overlook these smaller divisions sometimes, so they always show out. Dude, flyweight fights are the best. They're always fun scraps. They're always like high volume fights. Of course, there's some snoozers here and there, but like this fight is gonna be really fun. This dude Eduardo's making his debut. He has nothing to lose in a sense, because usually if you go out there and give a good performance anyways, you at least get another fight, right? So my guess is, bro, Eduardo's gonna go out there scrap. I think this is going to be a dog fight. I think we're going to see precision versus like power. I think we're going to see a lot of like contrast in the striking. You're going to see, I think we're going to see Eduardo rip 1, 2, 3, you know, 1, 2, go low, you know, whereas Charles Johnson might low overhand. Guys, you know what I say about these 1, 2 overhands? It's always there. That 1, 2 overhand is like it's so basic, but it always works. And I could literally see success for Charles Johnson if he could maybe play behind his jab and throw that power, or use that looping uppercut. It could be instead of a 1, 2 overhand, it could be a 1, 2 you know, uppercut, which Charles Johnson, he's literally like knocked out Joshua Van like that. So I could literally see Sisu and that right there, that motion sparked this dude in the chin, and there you go. Guys, this is going to be such a fun matchup. Charles Johnson is leaning right on that Brazilian 10, so hopefully he don't get it, guys. With that being said, though, my lock and pick for this matchup, guarantee lock, is going to be Charles Johnson, guys. I ain't going to lie. I could definitely see a case where Eduardo swarms him, sparks him up, maybe outpoints him, maybe it goes to the judges, but I truly believe Charles Johnson, especially him coming off that pretty embarrassing loss where dude got turned into a banana split, and that boy was reaching over, tapping over, fucking stretching his leg, looking like a stripper. Yeah, I feel bad. I think he's gonna come back, and I think he's gonna have some chip on his shoulder. I think he's gonna find a knockout. Charles Johnson, when he smells blood, he attacks. When he smells blood, he's a shark. So guys, with that being said, man, I'm gonna sit here and say Charles Johnson first round knockout. Don't quote me on it. Don't take my word for it. All right, y'all. The next fight on this card is gonna be taking place in the welterweight division. All right, y'all. As you can see, we have Chidi and Jekawani versus Joel Alvarez. And Joel Alvarez just recently accepted his fight. I think he's accepting his fight within 2 weeks distance. I could be wrong, maybe 1 week or so difference. The original opponent for Chidi was supposed to be Jeff Neal. I forgot the reason why he pulled out, but let's be serious. Did we really want to see Jeff Hands of Steel Neal? No, we don't care. Joel Alvarez is honestly a much more interesting opponent in this matchup. I feel like if Jeff Neal would have stayed fighting this matchup, it would have been much more of a striking match, you know, with like not as much grappling involved. But I think this fight now, with Joel picking it up, I think there's going to be a lot more grappling involved, especially on Joel's end. Chidi, he's a pretty like strong, stand your base type of fighter. You know, he likes to move forward. He's kind of stiff. He's very stiff in what he does. He's very powerful in his movement. Chidi has a nasty like clinch game where he likes to hold you right here, and he likes to just rip knees up the middle. good elbows, good lead elbows. He likes to pop people with the elbows in the clinch, and I think that could be very telling in this fight, simply because I think Chitty's gonna want to make this fight close, right? But where I think Joel's gonna counteract that is his grappling is so good. He has like a majority of his wins are submissions. If I'm not mistaken, he has like 17 submission wins. I could be wrong, but regardless, I have to say, like, Chitty has a couple losses, and by a couple I mean like I guess 12, right? That's more than a couple, and 4 of them are due to submission. So at least like a third of his losses are to submission, and you have somebody who a majority of his wins, like maybe like 80% of his wins are submission. Maybe a little less. I don't know the percentage, but I say that to say, like, this it should be very one-sided. I'm not gonna say I don't see success for Chitty, just because, like I say, he's one of those standard-based fighters. But I think once Joel starts involving grappling or like fully embraces the clinch, like I said, if Chitty tries to get that collar tie and tries to start playing here, okay, now y'all already know what I'm gonna say, man. Joel can get them underhooks, and now he can start playing his game, his grappling game, get a good trip. I think if this fight ends up on the ground and Joel is anywhere on top position, I think this is going to be a very easy submission, just because Joel has a very good sense of like triangle chokes. He has a good getting this position, or even in the under, like, overhand, underhand chokes, having it on your neck, like getting you like this, he has a really good sense of doing that, and he's a long, lanky fighter. Surprisingly though, Chitty has more reach, but still, as you can see, like in the builds, Joel is like a long, lanky striker. You know what I'm saying? He has a really good sense of gauging his distance. He uses leg kicks very well. He has nasty body shots. I mean, he's one of those people who, like, he'll get you in a ghillie position and he'll just start punching you. He's not going to look for the squeeze. He'll get you in a ghillie position, start punching you, and once you start worrying about defending the punches, okay, now that's when he takes you down. He finds the ninja choke, finds the anaconda choke, he finds a darts. He finds all these chokes. He finds a ghillie, he finds a rear naked choke. Like, he's so good at finding the neck. So, guys, I'm not even going to keep this too overly too much and explaining on this one. I'm going to keep this one short and simple, guys. My guarantee lock and pick for this fight is Joel Alvarez, guys. I think he's going to just be able to find that choke super easy. You have somebody, Chitty, who's very, like I said, heavy on his base. He has good takedown defense. He actually has good sense of level changes too, but I think Joel is just going to have way better advantage in the grappling department. I think he just has a better grappling prowess in general, and I think he is looking for a submission. He's a primary submission-seeking striker, so I think he's going to be able to find it. Yes, sir. Let's get to the next one. All right, y'all. The next fight on this card is going to be taking place in the lightweight division. As you guys can see here, we have Edson Barboza versus Esteban Ribovic. And guys, I'm going to keep this one short and simple. This is fucking elderly abuse. What does Edson Barboza know that we need to continuously send this man out here to get fucking withered and starched? Bro, this man is way past his prime, right? He's way past his hype. This dude's face has major scar tissue. This dude eyes like these. Every time Edson Barboza jump in the cage, it's going to be a fun fight. Listen, bro, why are you going out there? You have a loving family, bro. I seen the embedded video, bro. You have a loving family. Why are we sending Edson Barboza out there to get brutally starched? In his last fight, there was no chance he was winning. He literally got starched by Jalen Turner. Brutal beatdown. Snowball damaged immediately. He had no answers. Listen, Esteban is going to take over immediately. This dude's a nasty striker. He has disgusting combos. He's an elusive striker. He has knees. He has kicks. His kick game is disgusting. And honestly, bro, Edson is fully withered. This dude is Golden Freddy withered, bro. This dude is done. Why is he still in the UFC? Guys, give him a fucking Nico Price level bum in Brazil. Send him off. He's already past the Brazilian 10. He's about to be at the Brazilian 15. Guys, we need to stop doing this to these older fighters, all right? He had a war with Gagey. He has some good knockouts, highlight spinning kick knockout. He's past that, guys. It's over. Hang it up. Unk, it ain't 2010 no more. Hang it up. Guys, I'm going to keep this one mad simple, mad short with you. My guaranteed lock and pick for this fight is Esteban Rivas, guys. This is such a super lock. This is so simple. I feel bad almost. This is one of those fights where you're going to be like, oh, shit, Edson Barbosa, he threw a nice kick. Oh, shit. Oh, fuck. Oh, no. Yo, ref, stop the fight. Ref, he's out. It's going to be one of those. Guys, if you don't lock this in, man, yeah, tripping. Guarantee lock and pick is first round KO Esteban Rivas. Alright, guys, the next fight on this card is going to be taking place in the middleweight division. Guys, as you can see here, we have this absolute super implication matchup that is going to determine who's getting the next title. Mansour Abdul Malik versus Dustin Stolfson. Guys, why the fuck is this fight on the main card and Mitsabek Orobai is opening the fucking night? Guys, why the fuck is Mitsabek Orobai starting the card? I get it, you gotta start the card with some heat. Bro, why is Mitsabek Orobai not on the main card? I don't understand it. The UFC, like, y'all picking and choosing. Y'all trying to build these Dana White Contender Series bums, regional scene bum losers. Nah, he's not a loser. He has a pretty good record. He's undefeated. But y'all trying to, well, he's not undefeated. He has one loss. You're trying to build these fighters off Dana White Contender Series just so y'all can say, okay, look what we did. Look, this is a product. This is our product. It's apparent. The UFC does that. But Mansour Abdul Malik, he's coming off a pretty nasty loss, pretty nasty KO to Yusri Belgari. I was watching that fight. It was actually a pretty good back and forth. Yusri kind of did basically control the tempo that whole fight, and it was good until he got slimed out. But guys, Dustin is super chinny. This dude is late in his career. I mean, I guess you could say he's late in his career. He's not really the oldest, right, guys? He's 34, so he's obviously like in that middle barrier where you're like kind of over the hill and you're still kind of have some dying chance, right? This dude, Dustin, is off a 2-fight losing streak, and he hasn't fought in basically over a year. His last loss is to Kelvin Gastelum, and I'm 99% sure that's Kelvin Gastelum's last win. Guys, this dude is mega chinny, all right? This dude gets hit bad every fight. He's a pretty good fighter overall. I think Dustin has a good sense of grappling. He's a good striker. He's like middle of the line type of fighter. I think Abdul is going to be way more explosive. I think he's going to come in and look to just get in this dude's face, look for power punches, and I think he might even look for a little bit of clinch work, try to lead into some ground and pound. Mansour Abdul Malik, he's this super imposing fighter, but I could sit here and say he hasn't faced the best of people, guys. Of course, he's 9-1. He's just getting into the UFC, making a name for himself. I mean, he had a draw with Cody Brundage, which is never ever good, but whatever. His losses to Yusri Belgari, which if you don't know is Alex Pereira's teammate, and he actually faced Alex Pereira way back then. He knocked Alex out, so that's a pretty formidable loss, right, guys? It's not that bad of a loss in hindsight, unless he just goes on to play his shit. Yusri is a good kickboxer, right? And I think that's what you need to beat somebody like Abdul, an explosive guy who's trying to get close to you and do immediate damage and swarm you. This dude, Dustin, is mega chinny, all right? This dude is uber chinny, all right? This dude is fucking Mount Kilimanjaro, okay? This dude is chinny as death, all right? This guy just had numerous nose surgeries. He said every fight he's gotten in was just a cumulative nose damage. And I think that even if he got it fixed, I think that's something that you get it fixed, you pop it, and it's right back to it. He actually doesn't have much scar tissue from what I've seen on his face, but he's still one of those fighters that he gets hurt. He does kind of get busted up. Guys, I think this is going to be a pretty one-sided matchup. Let's be serious. This was a layup. They're giving Abdul a layup because they were like, fuck, he lost to Yusri. So we could kind of build Yusri, but let's give him a layup so that way we could still build this dude up. Guys, why isn't Orobai on the fucking main card? Like, I'm so angry about that shit, guys. Listen, I'm going to keep this short and simple. I know I've been keeping these last couple fights short and simple, but I feel like they're just, we're keeping it short and simple because we got some real bangers, some real good matchups coming up. Anyways, guys, that being said, I'm gonna keep this one short and simple. I haven't really predicted much decisions for this card, and I don't think I'm expecting another one for this one. So that being said, My lock and pick for this card is Abdul Malik. Mansour Abdul Malik. I think he's going to get it done in the first round. I think he's going to find this dude's chin immediately. I think he's going to be the more explosive, imposing fighter. I think he's going to come in here. He might look for some good grappling. He might look for some good exchanges that maybe leads to ground and pound. But I think it's going to be pretty one-sided, guys. This should be a pretty easy one. Unless Stolfsis could come and show levels, which I don't think he will. That would be surprising. I mean, he's had about a year layoff. Like I said, coming off those 2 losses, maybe he had some well-needed recovery that could be beneficial for his career, guys. But I'm taking a younger fighter. I'm taking the up-and-coming prospect. I'm taking the taller fighter. I'm taking the guy with the bigger reach. I'm taking the guy with the... I mean, hindsight is 9-1, a better record than 16-8. I mean, you have a green fighter versus I guess now somebody who has like 25 fights in his career, roughly. This would be his 25th. Like, you have like a pretty green fighter compared to somebody who's, I guess, now an experienced fighter. Regardless, I don't think that's going to play much of a factor. Once your chin is done, it's done. Guys, this should be pretty simple. Mansour Abdul Malik, round 1 KO. All right, y'all, this is going to be the feature fight of the card, and it's going to be taking place in the lightweight division, guys. As you guys can see, we have Jalen Turner versus Kawe Fernandez. And guys, to be honest, I think this fight is going to be one of those sleeper bangers where, you know, there might be a lot of back and forth exchanges in this matchup. Jalen Turner obviously is going to be the bigger fighter. He's going to be the longer, lankier fighter, taller fighter, has better reach in this matchup. I think the striking matchup is going to be very one-sided, and I think it's going to be leaning towards Jalen Turner. You know, when you think about Kawe Fernandez, like, the first thing you immediately think of is leg kicks, right? You got a long, rangy fighter who actually could use kicks very well to his advantage and scrambles very well. Like, the thing about Jalen Turner is he's actually a really good wrestler. He doesn't usually use his wrestling in his fights, but if you're going to have somebody who's going to try to, like, just chop your legs down, easy shots. You know why? Because their leg is always going to be lifted. That's an easy, simple, single leg takedown. If he can time that leg kick and potentially swoop in and grab the leg, or, you know, just get a good ankle pick, and now he brings the fight closer, he can start playing at his range, you know, keep the leg up and start throwing shots. That'd be really beneficial for him, you know. But Kawe does have those chopping leg kicks, which is going to be a big factor. You know, Jalen Turner kind of stands wide in his stance. You know, he got his lead leg out. And, you know, like what I say about these long, lanky fighters, they usually always have their lead leg out, especially guys with the wide stance, you know, kind of kickbox stance. Like, you know, you chop that leg up, now you make them switch stances. Now they're a little comfortable in a switch stance, you know. Now they're having to take a different approach, you know. Now they're not generating power from the side they want to generate it from, right? So it's like a nullifying thing where you chop somebody's legs and now their game plan is misconstrued, you know. Now they're figuring out and they're trying to scramble around and think, okay, how do I work around these leg kicks? I think Jalen Turner absolutely is smart enough. I mean, he's definitely had some fights where he made bad decisions and it costed him the fight. I think he could absolutely have a much better record than what he has. He's 15-9, but like in reality, Jalen Turner could be like 19-4 or some shit, 19-5, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, he could have had better wins. Like, he could beat Machado. Like, let's be serious, you know. If he would have scrambled a little better and just not allowed Machado sit in position, he wouldn't have got battered, right? We've seen Jalen Turner actually do bad in fights. The thing about Kawe is I think he's kind of a little, not plotty in the sense that he's big in his step, but he's more like stands his base, you know what I'm saying? And when he moves forward with everything. Maybe not necessarily that he's generating power and everything, but, you know, he has to disrupt his base. He's not going to be standing still when he's moving forward, right? That's easy clinch work. That's easy getting on the hips, you know. That's easy, you know, trying to get like a body lock or just play the side, you know, be off the center angle, get a lock on the body, and now, you know, Jalen can find the back, Jalen can find a choke, Jalen can find a dart, you know, one of those, Jalen can find a gilly, you know, one of those situations. And I think that we're actually going to see something like that happen where Kawe maybe moves in, Jalen is able to stop that, maybe get a clinch, put him on the fence. You know what I said about the push off the elbows, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, those are prevalent, you know, that push off, guys. I think Jalen Turner is going to have a nasty push off. I mean, I think he's going to push off, maybe throw a good head kick. Guys, I think Jalen Turner is going to really show levels, you know. I think he's obviously a win-loss fighter per se. I mean, if you want to just call a spade, he's not necessarily like this high level, oh my God, he's going to be the next contender. No, he's not, right? But he's a pretty good striker, and I think he's had a career resurgence where he's taken things a lot more serious and just doing the things he needed to do in his camp, and I think that's going to be beneficial. He's obviously off that good win off Edson Barbosa. He came out of retirement, right? So I think, honestly, it's going to be a good back-and-forth matchup. I think Kawe is just not really going to have much answers for somebody who is as lanky and as big. And, like, although you're not going to sit here and say Jalen Turner's, like, this grappling wrestler, right? He still has the sense of grappling ability that could play a threat. So, guys, I'm just going to keep this one very simple. I think this is going to be a pretty one-sided matchup. I think we see Jalen show levels. I think he's going to play behind his jab very well. I think he's going to play behind his teeps very well. I think it's going to be just a pretty good, like, maybe like kickboxing style type of fight. That's what it's going to look like, or just like a boxing style fight. So with that being said, guys, I know I've been picking a lot of finishes for this fight, but I could see this being like a long, drawn-out war, guys. And I could see just both fighters have to go through the ranges and the mountains and the peaks and the lows and the highs and the go through the waters, deep waters in this fight. I think it's gonna be one of those type of barn burner type fights where like Kawe's just gonna have relentless pressure and Jalen is just going to try to nullify that with his range and his, sense of grappling, sense of getting close in the clinch, putting him on the fence. I think putting Kawe on the fence and then Jalen just wailing off, I think that's a much easy possibility, but I think both fighters will weather the storm. That being said, this being a 3-round fight, I think, guys, my guarantee lock and pick for this fight is Jalen Turner, round 3 decision. I'm pretty sure these guys are just going to go at it. I could see a finish on both ends. I mean, I could see Kawe Fernandez batter his legs and just find better position. Now he's stepping in. Now he's able to establish like outside leg control, or take an inside step in, without Jalen like circling out because his legs is destroyed. Or I could honestly see like Jalen taking him out early. But I think this is really going to be a long drawn fight. I don't think both fighters are going to be rushing to get out there. I think both fighters are going to build into this fight. Unless Jalen goes out there and sparks him, I think both fighters are going to build into this fight. So with that being said, Jalen Turner decision. All right, y'all, this is the co-main event of the evening, a title fight, and it's going to be taking place in the women's strawweight division. As you guys can see here, we have Mackenzie Dern versus Jillian Robertson. And guys, I think this fight is going to be so freaking good. I know a lot of people have been ripping on this fight just because, women's MMA co-main event, women co-main event. Listen, I get it. I understand, right? Sometimes women MMA is slop. Let's just call a spade, right? Let's be fair. Sometimes the women's MMA gives, like, the fights that we see in women's MMA takes away from the actual high level fights that we're expecting. Like, I believe this fight is going to be super high level. I know a lot of people have been saying it's going to be very one-sided, and people believe, and maybe I kind of believe a little bit too, that Mackenzie Dern is just going to be way better in every facet of this fight. I think Mackenzie Dern is just going to show levels everywhere we go. I mean, Mackenzie Dern is a pretty solid striker. She has pop in her shot. She's a great grappler. She has this amazing jiu-jitsu prowess. She has been working on her wrestling. Obviously she's not like the best wrestler as far as getting your single legs, your double legs, working off those type of positions. Like, yeah, she's getting better, and she's a champion. And one thing I could say is, like, Mackenzie Dern is not this sloppy striker. Like, I know a lot of people probably rip her, say, oh, she's just a jiu-jitsu practitioner, which, yeah, when she first started this, she was a champion in jiu-jitsu, but she's clearly shown levels of improvement. Like, that last fight, the fight that unified her to be a champion with Virna Jandiroba, dude, that fight was fucking amazing. They were going at it back and forth, throwing like crazy strikes, crazy scrambles. Mackenzie Dern has like a lot of level of productivity. Like, it doesn't matter where the fight goes, she's gonna throw output, she's gonna have submission threats, she's gonna batter you, she's gonna throw elbows. It doesn't matter if she's playing her guard, she's gonna be on her guard doing this to you. She's gonna be in her guard if she gotta throw Peter Patters or these side swings. She's gonna do it. That's the type of fighter she is. But on the contrary, I think a lot of people have not been giving Jillian Robertson a fair shake. She has the most finishes as a woman in the UFC history, and she's an active fighter. She's still competing. So what does that mean? She's most likely gonna continue to break her own record. You have arguably one of the best female grapplers, or at least female jiu-jitsu artists, in Mackenzie Dern, and you have this basically like this kind of gritty MMA style wrestling striker in Jillian Robertson. And one thing I like to point out is I feel like Jillian Robertson, she's a little bit sloppy in her striking. Sometimes she's going over her own foot, you know, tipping forward sometimes. And I will also say her defensive kind of, you know, she is very susceptible to get hit. She gets hit a lot. I can sit here and say that, you know, she's kind of one of those dog-like fighters. She's like a female dog. I'm not saying she's a bitch, right? I'm saying she's like one of those female dog type fighters that, like, they want to make it scrappy. They want to make it nasty. They want to make it this well-rounded MMA fight, right? And that's what the style that Jillian Robertson brings. She's not going to bring this boxing style. She's not going to bring this wrestling style. She's not a kickboxer. She's a very well-rounded MMA fighter, and I think that could potentially play some part in this fight, like just her having that MMA mindset rather than, you know, Mackenzie Dern is a jiu-jitsu artist who turned into a striker, who turned into the MMA, and now she's a champion. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things where, like, just the way of approach could be different. Like, the way you approach a situation, you know, Mackenzie may be valuing positioning and leading to submissions, whereas Jillian may hold a position and just start battering Mackenzie. You know, people are just thinking that this is going to be one-sided, and for the most part, like, guys, I can't play blind to the reality. This most likely will be one-sided, leaning towards Mackenzie Dern, just because she absolutely shows levels. She's been improving. She has a couple losses too. You know, it's not like she's this undefeated invincibility complex type fighter. No, she's the fighter who's faced adversity, who's took losses, who's been finished, who had to work hard to get the belt. I mean, that fight wasn't an easy fight. I mean, if Verna Jandaroba could have maybe got a takedown every round in that fight, she probably arguably could have won. You know, it wasn't like Mackenzie Dern went out there and got the finish, guys. She went out there and got a hard-fought victory against Verna Jandaroba. Whereas Jillian Robertson, she's just this gritty fighter. She gets people out of there, but she also gets hurt. I mean, we've seen her get her head popped back by Amanda Lemos, you know, and also, not for nothing, Amanda Lemos also beat Mackenzie Dern, you know, so just like it's these fighters are similar, you know, in a sense they're similar, especially in like physicality standpoint, statistics, you know, even in record, they're not too far apart as far as like obviously where these fighters are in their career. One of them's a champion, one of them's a contender, right? So obviously there's clear compare and contrast between these fighters. Guys, I think this fight is going to be such a high-level technical fight. Guys, expect scrambles, expect position holding, expect small movements. It's going to be the hand fight in this. It's going to be the hand fighting. It's going to be leg positioning. It's going to be how you move your hips, you know. It's going to be where you have your elbows planted. It's going to be if you have your arms planted close to you or if your arms are planted out. You know, those things matter in every asset of this fight, you know, especially when you have somebody who excels crazy in jiu-jitsu like Mackenzie Dern, that can literally capitalize on little windows of opportunity. You guys have to understand, jiu-jitsu is one of those sports where it's inches, and oh, and then it's here. You know, it happens like that. So, guys, with that being said, I'm gonna sit here and say my guaranteed and lock and pick for this fight is gonna be Mackenzie Dern. Guys, let's be serious. We all are expecting Mackenzie to go out there and get this done. She's the better fighter out there too. She's the better all-around fighter. I think as far as like well-roundedness, Jillian may be better in the well-roundedness, but Mackenzie's just better in all fields. So guys, I think Mackenzie probably could smash a sub. Like, let's be serious. I think the sub is absolutely live in this fight. Jillian Robertson, she's not a slouch. This is not going to be an easy fight. Guys, let's stop being closed-minded and just think because this is a women's MMA. No, it's gonna be a dog fight. It's gonna be gritty, and I'm absolutely looking forward to that one, guys. Now let's get ready for this main event, guys. I'm so excited for this one. All right, y'all. This is the main event of the evening, and it's going to be taking place in the welterweight division, y'all. This is going to be an absolute technical banger. This is going to be probably one of the best fights of the year, guys. Let's get right into it. As you guys clearly can see, we have the #1 pound for pound per consensus on everybody's list. Islam Makhachev, the double champ, the champ, Makhachev versus Ian Machado, the future Garry. Guys, this fight is going to be such a good fight. Like, honestly, I see this fight going so many ways. A lot of people are saying that this might be Islam's most difficult matchup. And to be honest, in a sense, I think it may be, you know. In a weird way, I believe Volk has been Islam's most difficult matchup up to date so far. And I honestly could potentially see, like, this type of fight going that way. Like, if you think about the style Ian Garry has, he has this retreating, like, rangy, point fighting kind of style where he's very safe, he's very, like, composed, he's very stern on just keeping safe and not, like, risking himself in bad engagements, you know. Ian Garry has a really good, like, time selection, you know, shot selection. He has really good level change. Ian Garry is one of the most well-rounded strikers in the UFC. He is one of the most technical strikers, if so, the best technical striker in the welterweight division. I mean, this guy's beat everybody except Shavkat. This dude beat Bilal. This dude beat Carlos Prates, which is arguably one of the, like best wins you can have right now, just off name value, off what he's doing in the division. Like, this dude got through the Neil Magny test. I mean, come on. He got, look right here. Look right here. I've got Neil Magny's soul in my hand. It's in my pocket. Come on, guys. Let's be serious, man. I really like this matchup, though, because this is going to be that matchup where we really, like, see and determine, like, yeah, Islam is on a 16-fight win streak. Yeah, he's, you know, done what he's done in this industry and in this sport, but this is that fight where we like, okay, is he the real deal? He's going up against a real big welterweight, one of those welterweights that are a natural welterweight. I seen a interview where Ian Garry said, listen, the difference between me and these other welterweights that he faces, aka Jack Della Maddalena, is Ian can't make 155. I'm not sure if Jack Della Maddalena, JDM, I don't know if JDM ever fought at 155, but he's a pretty big guy. But Ian Garry's a freaking huge guy. He's obviously has the height advantage. He has the reach advantage. Guys, I'm going to break it down technically for you guys. This is going to be a hot take, but just let me potentially explain it a little better before you guys get to, what is this guy saying? Guys, I don't think Islam Makhachev is going to shoot regular shots in this shot, guys. I don't think Islam Makhachev is going to go for a straight piping down the middle on the center line, single leg or double leg takedown. Guys, I think Ian Garry is too elusive. I think he's too smart. I think he has too much good timing and presents a threat. Him being the long range striker, I think Islam is going to make this one of those fights where he's going to want to make it a clinch fight. He's going to want to make it and as far as like physicality and who's going to be more imposing, I think Islam is going to be the stronger fighter. Ian will be the bigger fighter, but Islam will be the stronger fighter. I don't think we're going to see Islam going for blast single legs and blast double legs. You know why? Because I think Ian subconsciously knows that's the main threat that's going to be coming. So I'm sure he's ready for uppercuts. I'm sure he's ready for those like you guys can't see it, but you know, those snapping kicks where it's like whoosh. Like, I'm sure he's ready for one of these, you know. I'm sure he's ready for a nice jumping kick, a nice knee, a blasting knee to the face. I think Islam absolutely knows that that's a threat in his fight. Ian Garry, he's a long-ranging guy. He has good knees. He has good timing. If Islam crashes straight in a center line and Ian can literally just crash that, like, you know what I said, guys, when you put your all and you get hit into that wall, it's like, whoa, you get stopped immediately. And now it's like, okay, Islam is one of those guys where he could redirect on the fly, you know, and he could change his approach on the fly. He could change where his end goal is supposed to be on the fly, right? He doesn't have to commit to one position, one submission, one transition. He doesn't have to commit to one reversal. You know, he's one of these guys where you can bring it anywhere. And let's be honest, guys, Islam Makhachev is not a bad striker at all. I mean, this dude has had sequence where he outstruck Volk. He's outstruck, in small sequences, he's outstruck JDM. This dude outstruck Charles Oliveira, which, you know, obviously he's majority a striker anyways. Islam Makhachev beat Arman Sarukian. This dude is actually, like, really fucking good. You know, of course, we're not sitting here doubting that or questioning that, or we're not asking like, hey, is Islam legit, man? Is he gonna get it done? No, guys, let's be serious. I believe Islam is going to be able to get it done. Now, what I say, I don't believe he's going to want to get this, straight center line down the line shots. I say that to say I think Islam Makhachev is going to make this a clinch fight. Guys, I don't want to keep saying it, but them underhooks, you guys have to understand how important that is, right? You know why I don't believe it won't be beneficial for him to shoot a blast shot? If he runs in, right, Ian Garry's going to be a taller fighter, right? If he goes for a shot and Ian Garry denies it, or he's able to establish like this type of defense where he has his arms under Islam's arms, now he's able to bring his arms up and control Islam. Now he has the control. Now he's able to get a trip. I don't think Islam is going to want to put himself in a position where he ends up on the bottom. You know what I'm saying? Islam, I feel like we hardly see him work off his back, you know what I'm saying? Because usually he's the one in the dominant positions. But I don't think we're going to see Islam want to put himself in these bad positions, right? In that JDM fight, he said, yeah, it was boring, but I had to secure the win. Why do we not think he won't do the same thing this fight? Of course, I was saying the JDM fight, he may not have been potentially seeing the finish as much as we wanted him to. I know he wanted to secure the win. I know he wanted to secure his legacy. I know he wanted to get the double champ status. So you can't be mad at him and rip at him just because he wants to sit here and do a boring, like, secure the win type of fight to get the double champ status. Of course, we want to see sparks flying, but when you have these seriously technical, dangerous strikers, JDM and Ian Garry back to back, although yeah, JDM's a little withered, this dude has no legs anymore. JDM and Ian Garry back to back, like, that is a fucking death wish for anybody, especially for somebody who has a grappling approach. The immediate thought you're thinking is, okay, he's gonna get picked apart on the feet, he's gonna get picked apart immediately. But you've seen what he did to JDM, and guys, I see a similar style fight for this one, except I think Ian Garry is gonna be elusive, like we said. I think Islam's gonna want to get this on his cage. I think Islam is gonna want to establish his underhooks, get that body triangle, maybe be a little off angle, maybe be off the angle a little bit to the side, so that way he's able to secure a trip, maybe have like established outside leg positioning, or even inside leg, because you can get an outside leg sweep, sweep him and bring him down, or you can get an inside leg sweep and just bring him down straight like this. So that's something that I believe that's how Islam is going to get takedowns in his fight. I of course, he probably will do a regular blast single leg, blast double leg. Like, that's a part of his kick. So that's inevitable that he's going to do that. But I don't think that's going to be his method of, like, victory, per se, doing these shots like a Bilal Muhammad. Did you see the defensive wrestling Ian had against Bilal? I mean, a couple years ago, aka last year, when Bilal was a champion, people were semi-comparing his grappling to Islam's. They were saying, man, Bilal Muhammad might give Islam problems, man. Come on, do you guys forget that narrative? Like, let's be serious. That was last year. People were saying it. Yeah, man, Bilal Muhammad might be the trickiest opponent for Islam, man. I mean, his grappling, man. Guys, Ian nullified it. I mean, even JDM nullified it. So, but that just goes to show the levels, how different Islam is. He's a dog. Guys, I think this is going to be one of those clinch fights, those mat returning type of fights. I think this is going to be a fight where Islam shows his whole bag of tricks. I think Ian is going to have success in his fight. Absolutely. He always has success in his fights. Even in compromising positions, he's a very well defensive fighter. Like, when he was being swarmed by Carlos Prates, arguably TKO'd, we could sit here and take that angle and say, yeah, Carlos Prates TKO'd Ian Garry. He had great defensive awareness. He knew where to keep his head. He knew he needed to get back up. He knew he needed to move his head. He knew he needed to establish base. Guys, I think that's going to be very telling. But when you have somebody who's just going to mat return you and threaten a submission the whole time, I think it's going to be bad. Hey, it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad, Garry. Hey, I'm telling y'all boys, man, this fight is going to be such a good one. But I'm not trying to bore y'all too much. I've been talking about this fight for about 10 minutes. I'm going to give y'all my lock and pick. My guaranteed lock and pick for this fight is going to be Islam Makhachev. Come on, guys. We all know Islam is going to eventually just have his way with Ian Garry. He's going to eventually snowball damage. At the very least, Islam is going to be winning on points. If we're not finding a submission, Islam is winning by points, guaranteed. I could see this being a long, drawn-out fight like the JDM fight where, I mean, it wasn't exactly doggy, but it was like kind of, in a sense, back and forth. No, not really. It was a lot, really one-sided. But I say that to say, like, I see this fight could be a fight that goes the distance. Could have a lot of back and forth exchanges. Could have some blimps and simmers of hope for Ian Garry, right? Ian Garry could start this man quick. He hasn't had a finish in a couple years. The last finish was D-Rod, if I'm not mistaken. But Ian Garry has that ability. He has that fluke ability. Ian Garry is probably the most confident he's ever felt, the most focused he's ever been. I don't care. I don't care what anybody has to say. I could give a fuck. This is the most important fight in my fucking life. Let's keep it professional. You journalists. You're putting words in his fucking mouth. Ian Garry, bro. God, can we imagine how it'll fucking be? I'm the champion. You guys are hating me now after I get my belt. You all be cheering for me. Here's Neil Maggie's soul. Come on, guys. That's going to be the worst. That would be the worst timeline, guys. He probably would be more active, though. But, guys, with that being said, man, listen, Islam Makhachev, I'm sure he's going to find a 5-round decision or a late round 5 submission. I think he could find that sub, guys. This was my recap. Not my recap. This was my breakdown and my predictions for UFC 330. This has been K-Side Cash. And I'm out.